Hi guys. Oh my gosh, I am so sorry for whatever that catastrophe was. I haven't done one of these lives in like over a year, like way over a year. So I have no idea. I like logged in and I just hit the button. I was like, "Oh, go live." And then it was like, "No, friend, you can't just do that." So let me know if this is actually showing up because Joe had to come up and like download some other crazy thing and it's in a entirely different window. I was like, "You are not making this easy, YouTube." But hi, welcome. Hopefully this is working. I have some questions on my phone that I left in the community tab. I'm excited because I haven't done one on here in forever, and I feel like this gets to like incorporate. Oh, good. People are saying hi, so it must be working. Talking to all of you guys on YouTube now that we figured out how it works. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Lady T. Lori, Ruby, Travis. Hi. Oh, good. Other people are here. It was a disaster trying, not a disaster. I am not technically inclined and you can't just hit a button anymore and upload to this. And I was like, oh friend, send help. Okay. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them there. Happy New Year, everyone. Obviously. Did anyone stay up till midnight? We stayed up till midnight, but just because we were too lazy to get off the couch. We were like, oh, okay, we'll just stay down here. Hi, Nurse Nice. Oh, that's a nice name. All right, let me see questions. I do have some questions from the community tab, but if you guys have any, by all means, shoot them over, or if you just want to chat, whatever you guys want to do. Hi, Billy, May Baby, everybody. Hello, thanks for hanging out with me. I'm always nervous when I do these that no one's going to show up and I'm just going to be talking to a wall. Tip for that, if you ever do these, is just get questions beforehand. That way you have something to talk about. Hi, Shira, Mercy, Happy New Year. Okay, first question. Survivor 2013 said, my question is, how hard is anatomy and physiology in college? My school does them separate. Would you recommend taking them together? I took them separate, but at the same time. So they were different classes, but it was at the same time. I mean, that's pretty obvious. At the same time. I have a video on how I studied for anatomy that I'll leave down below, and physiology was just the same as studying for any other class. Go by kind of the what they give you in the modules and then study to that and then go from there. I have a few videos on studying, so I'll leave all of those linked down below if I can figure out how to save this when this is over. Hey, everybody who's joining. Hi. Next one is, Rossler N asks the possibility of being successful at full-time NP school, complete with like 600 hours of clinical before August, full-time home health nurse on top of a wife and mother to a 5 and 7-year-old. So I will be very honest. And then she had asked, like, is something going to have to give? I think something is going to have to give there. I don't think you can do full-time all of it because like being a parent is very full-time. Working is full-time, and then obviously school being full-time is a lot. The only people that I knew that did full-time school, full-time work, did not have children. So they did it. They had 0 days off and they did not have a ton of sanity, but I mean, they got it done. And if you need to just like knock it out, then you can totally do that. But you probably won't see your kids a ton that year. So if that's worth that to you, to just like get it done out of the way, then go for it. But you definitely, I even working part-time, school part-time with kids, it was hard. There's just not like a ton of time. I did work full-time for the first 2 years and school was always part-time. Even then, I did not have like a life at all. So I would say with that, just kind of like evaluate your priorities and see what is really, really important. But full-time work and school and kids that's going to be really, really rough. Garrett said, I have a question for you. What advice do you have for someone that wants to one day be a CRNA? I'm wanting to walk the path of nursing. CRNA is not something that I like. No, you have to work in the ICU. I know that. Nurse Nell has a YouTube channel on here. She's great. Rihanna, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, has a great YouTube channel on here. I will leave both of theirs linked down below, and they are CRNAs and CRNA students, and they have way more information on that than I will because I knew I never wanted to do that, so I don't really know a ton about that. And Nurse Nice said, hi, Lucas. Hi, Flavian. How do I prepare for my advanced physical therapy assessment checkoff in NP school? I have a whole video on, if you just look in YouTube search, Nurse Liz physical or health assessment. that's what it's under. And it goes through how I studied, how I survived that. It's basically just a bunch of repetition. Lady T says, especially being a full-time home health nurse, that's a lot. I agree. I think it's just a ton. You kind of have to figure out in balancing work, school, and life. Like, I have a whole video where I talked about that. It's called, I think, Balancing Work, School, and Life. And I talked about having, like, you kind of have all your time as a pie, and you have to decide, like, things are going to suffer. It's very short term, but, like, things are going to suffer. So, like, what's it worth it to you to suffer? And don't make it that you only sleep 2 hours a night, because that'll make you go crazy. Nurse Nice says, I'm in full-time school, but she works on the weekends. Shira said, what's the best way to get ahead and study for pharm before the semester starts? I don't know if they, like, release the modules to you. I didn't have a pharm textbook. We only used there was like a prescriber's letter. And so I didn't know what I needed to read beforehand, but if they release the notes to you, then you could look over that. But other than that, there's not a great way to get ahead a lot of the time. It's kind of hard because, you don't really know what's going to be out there. Unless you have, so I used Picmonic, but I didn't know about Picmonic until I was like a month into the semester. But if you have the Picmonic thing, that's an app, you can go and use the free, they give you like one module a day for free. So you could go and do that and start like reviewing just like, what drugs are in what class. And if you end up buying it, I have a 20% off code, I think, that I will leave linked down below. But that is how I got through pharm, was I bought that Picmonic for patho and pharm. And it was like a lifesaver. So you could go on there and just start studying like one, if you just want to try it out for free, their free module one a day. And that would be a really good thing to actually start. I changed my mind. That would be a good idea to do. Other people are saying they did home health on the weekend. Work balance with school and stuff. That's just always really hard. Hopefully she reads your comments because you guys have some good ones here. Erin Walsh said, well, I have a hard time getting a job with an ADN and doing a dual enrollment program where I get my ADN and then my BSN. It depends on where you live. I have lived places that really, like, that didn't care, that they just kind of said, hey, as long as it's within 5 years that you get your BSN, we don't care. I have also lived places that they would not hire you if you didn't have your BSN. Some of it depends on if it's like a magnet hospital. It just totally depends on what setting you want to work in and what the health system requires. Usually if it is a magnet health system, in order to stay magnet, you have to usually have most of your nurses be BSN prepared. It's like above a certain percentage. So that could be a problem, but you're going into it saying like, I will have my BSN. So like, it totally depends on where you live. Just look at when you're applying, or even now you could just go onto job boards and see, hey, like, does it say in the nursing job description, BSN required? So, what are your thoughts on Curology? Abigail Smith. Guys, I don't know what that is. What is Curology? Tell me. She's seen lots of ads for them lately. Elena, Liz, you said never wanted to be a CRNA, and why is that? Why did you? And what do you think of the nurse midwifery pathway? I never wanted to be a CRNA because that's just, I didn't graduate from nursing school thinking like I want to be an NP. I was just like, I want to be a peds nurse. But I couldn't get a job in peds, so I worked with adults for a little while, and that's when I realized I wanted to be an FNP because everyone was falling apart and had like horrible primary care. So I had no interest in being a CRNA. That's why I didn't want to be one. But if you like really critical care things or unconscious people, that's all great for CRNA. I do not like unconscious people. I really like the education and all of that side of it, which involves people being awake. And I didn't want, CRNA to me just seemed like 90% way too boring and then 10% horrifying. Like, it's either really boring or like really, really not boring. That just was not my jam. But a lot of people, it's a great option. I mean, for a lot of people, that's just like so not my thing. And then midwifery, if you like delivering babies, then that is perfect. I really, really love, actually, now that I've gotten into practice, women's health. And I would actually consider going and getting a postmaster's in women's health. And I love midwives. I had a midwife with Avery, and I loved the entire, like, they were just great. However, I would not be able to be a midwife because I have not that I don't have patience, but I think I've said before, like, my patience for laboring women would be like, suck it up. Like, did you think this was going to be fun? When people are like, oh my God, I'm 3 centimeters dilated and this really hurts. I'd be like, yeah, duh, you're having a baby. And that's not what those women deserve. So I did not go the midwife path. Also, another thing where it's like either really, really awesome or like really, really stressful. It's not my jam at all. T-Bone said, I have to take a math test in my second semester to continue. I start back nursing school. I'm bad at math and not ready for it. Khan Academy, my friend, on YouTube. It's free. The best, the absolute best. You're probably doing like a calculations thing. They have an awesome videos on MedCalc that make it really, really easy. Cat Forbes says, I'm about to take my T's. Any tips? I didn't have to take that. I'm sorry, friend. But lots and lots of, I see videos on it all the time on YouTube. So whatever they recommend. I'm sure there's a book for it. Do that. I didn't have to take I didn't have to take an exit exam. I didn't do ATI. I see a lot of people, I'm assuming what that is. T's, I didn't take that. So I always feel very like confused when people say that because I'm like, I don't know what those letters mean. And I feel old because that didn't exist when I went to nursing school. And then, all right. I'm so used to like Instagram that these comments are like confusing to me. It's fine. My ancient self will get used to it. Elizabeth Caseda said, hi, if I choose to pursue an FNP program instead of PNP, can I still become a pediatric provider? So I have a whole video on this too, and I think I'll link it down below. I should have started a list of what I needed to link. It's fine. And it's on women's health and peds, like, is family nurse practitioner a good option for that? Or if you know what you want to do, should you just go into it? And my opinion is if you know you want to do peds, go and dedicate all your education to peds because there's not a lot of peds and there's not a lot of women's health in an FNP program. Can you get a job? Probably. I'm sure someone will give you a job. But if you already know what you want to do, I would just recommend going and getting all of your education in it. Obviously, you can learn on the job and all of that, but from many people I've talked to, including my program, like you get some peds, but I would not take my child to an FNP pediatric, like at a pediatrician. And that's, you know what I mean? Like, cause I want them to go to someone who that's all they've ever learned about, where FNP is very much adult based. So if you don't know, I think that's fine. If you're like, I might want to work in peds or I might want to do women's health, then I mean, obviously do like FNP is fine because that's very broad. But if you already know, I wouldn't go FNP knowing you want to work in peds just because it's a more generalized degree. Generalization is not always good. Oh, Sean. Hey, Sean. What's up? And Alyssa. Oh, hey, friends. Cat Forbes said, single mom with a toddler here, full-time university student wanting to be an NP student one day. You can do it, friend. One day at a time. It's also all the kudos to you. I do not know how you do it as a single mom because I am not and I struggle. Kelsey Goodwin says, how prepared did you feel for your first nursing job? I graduate in May and I get super nervous. Not at all. Like, not at all. But they give you a really nice orientation, which is nice, usually. And then the first 6 months are just really rough. I have a video on that. It's called like something about like, hey, new nurse, it gets easier. Because it does. And the first 6 months just really suck. Like there's no other way around that. You are learning such a new set of skills. I feel like nursing school doesn't prepare you well for it. When I rule the world, nursing school will look different and it'll be better, but we're not there yet and you aren't living in my world yet. So one day we'll get there, friends. Someone did ask in the community tab questions what the training was like in terms of FNPs when you get on the job. And if any of you guys are, I know Sean's an acute care NP, if he's still here, he can say kind of what training was like on the job when he got hired for those. Or if any of you guys are acute care NPs, in family medicine as an NP, I got no training. I got 4 hours on the computer. I then shadowed her for 4 hours to kind of get a feel of like her style. And then I was on my own from I guess that's day 2. They assumed that I learned everything in school. Your school, like, you should graduate prepared and able to go. Obviously, I looked stuff up all the time. I was not like out there doing everything and I knew everything. I was looking stuff up constantly. I still am. However, I did not have a preceptor because that's what I had been doing for the last 800, 900 hours of my clinical time. So it's like, what am I going to learn? In family medicine, you're going to see such a broad range of things that none of my friends got. Some of them got to shadow like different people. Like one of them got to shadow an MA for a day and then they followed a nurse just to see how the clinic ran. But no one got like precepted. Friends that were FNPs that went into specialties, they did get some time and it just depended. A friend that went into dermatology got 4 weeks. Someone I knew went into cardiology and they got 3 months. So it totally just depends on what specialty you're in. You should do a video explaining all the credentials. I'm not a medical person and it confuses me. I have one of those. I'll try to remember if I leave that down below. It's called I think Alphabet Soup, and it goes through the difference between licensure, certification, and degree and explains what they are and which ones you need for what and all of that good stuff, because I agree it is insanely confusing and healthcare really likes to just throw a billion letters at you and be like, good luck, here's my name. And you're like, I don't know what any of that means. Yoshi98, how did you study for microbiome? Not well. I didn't do the best in micro. I was in undergrad and I was having a lot of fun. I didn't do very well. You should study for micro. It's kind of hard. If I was doing it now, I would probably do a lot of Khan Academy for that. And then, study. It's good for you. But having fun in college is also very fun. I scrolled down on accident. Lots of people are talking about the T's, which is good because I don't know anything about that. Marine said, do you feel the same with PAs? Would you rather go to a PNP rather than a PA working in pediatrics? I don't know. PAs usually seem to get, at least from my experience, a little bit more, I'll be honest. If I was taking my kid to a pediatrician's office and I had to pick between a PA, an FNP, a PNP, and a pediatrician, I would pick a PNP or a pediatrician because all of their training was in that. So yes, I would rather have, yes. Or if it's a PA that's been working for 10 years in peds, obviously yes. But if we're looking at like all brand new providers and I had those 4 choices, I would do the 2 that had all of their training in children. Sarah said, I just got accepted to an ADN program. Congrats. What advice do you have for starting a nursing program with a 6-month-old husband and a job? I talked about this in my like how to balance everything, and you just kind of have to figure out what you're willing to sacrifice on. For me, that was mostly like I didn't really do anything fun for me at all when I was in school, especially when Avery arrived, because I knew at the end of the program, like I would have time for like me again. And so I pretty much did homework when she napped and when she slept. And then I hung out with my husband for half an hour to an hour every night. We like did, whether we watched a show or, I don't know, mostly we just watched Netflix. That was kind of like our sacred time. And the rest of the time I was just studying. Also daycare. You have to view school kind of as a job. And you know, like we put Avery in daycare 2 of the days, even though I was technically home sometimes those days so that I could get stuff done. And you kind of have to do that. Sean said, how did you go about choosing or interviewing for your first NP job? I pretty much just interviewed. I applied to any job that was in family medicine because that's what I knew I wanted to do. I applied to full-time jobs and part-time knowing I wanted to work part-time. I did have one interview with a full-time place and I said like down the road I like wanted to be transparent because I wanted what I wanted and I knew I wanted part-time. And so as soon as I said like I'd one day like part-time, it like ended it right there. The job that I have now is the only interview that really like went all the way through. So I really got I interviewed at a few places, like talked to a few people, I guess on phone interviews. And most of the time it was either me saying like, this is not a good fit, or them in that case being like, no, we don't want part-time. And I knew I didn't want to be stuck full-time. And I even said like in a year or two, I would consider going part-time. And they said like, we don't have part-time providers. And I was like, peace. And they said the same thing. So that worked out. I think though, you have to just go into the interviewing thing, knowing what your absolute musts are. And the other two that I talked to briefly and said no to, one of them was you were on call all week, every third week. And that was just like way too much. And the other one was you worked every single weekend. And I didn't want that. And I knew that. So, RV Dreamer says, oh, thanks, that this was helpful. Thanks. May Baby said, a lot of NPs are going back to school for psych. Do you see this field becoming saturated in the future, like family adult NPs? Psych seems, okay. So psych, I think, is definitely a wide open thing that I don't think will be saturated for a very long time, because there is such a desperate need for psych providers. However, don't go into psych just because it pays a lot of money and there's a huge need for it, because it is grueling. Any job, really. I wouldn't go into it just for the money, because that's something that you're going to be spending a lot of your life on. And especially psych, that is a very challenging, like if you love it, then it's wonderful. But if you are going into it just for the money, that would be really, really hard. That population deserves people to care for them that cares for them, not just in it for the money. Like they really need people to be there for them and really want what they, you know what I mean? Like we are in a mental health crisis, and that's just not fair to those people to be like, oh, there's a huge gap here, I'm going to go do that, because there's just been a lot of burnout from people I've talked to who have done that. They're like, oh, this is not what I wanted. And even if you're making all the money, if you absolutely if you don't like your job and it's not a good fit, then that's not worth it. Elena D said, in order to become an NP, do you need any clinical experience, or can you go right from a BSN to a master's or doctorate degree without working on a floor as an RN? I think you need experience. Schools don't agree with me, but I found my time as a nurse completely invaluable. And I wrote, I cannot imagine doing it without nursing experience. But I do think if you want to go and be a provider with no nursing like floor experience, I would look at the PA route. I think that's a really great route, especially if you have a background in nursing, because then you're bringing like you're bringing both aspects of it. So you obviously have like the nursing aspect that you learned in school and practice there, but you're getting a lot more clinical hours in PA school, because NP school has a lot less hours than PA school, and I would not feel comfortable taking care of other humans with only, like, some schools only require like 500 or 600 hours to be done with NP school, and that to me is just not quite enough. I don't know, but a lot of people disagree with me there, but I would not. Garrett said, I want to build up my people skills a little more before I start. Anyone? Go talk with Garrett. He wants to build up his people skills. Margarita44 says, I'm a new nurse wanting to be a CRNA. I just got accepted for the spring and nursing school. What specialized skills would you recommend? You need to get into an ICU. That should be your goal when you graduate from school. Brittany McDonald said, do you remember how long it took you to get your authorization to take the NCLEX? I applied December 6th and still haven't heard back. I think it was like 6 weeks. If any of you guys have taken the NCLEX, how long did it take yours? Because I want to say mine was 4 to 6 weeks, and Christmas and the holidays is probably botching you up. I'm betting yours is going to come in like this week. I graduated, I would say it was like 4 to 6 weeks. It also depends on your state. I've heard some states like California, it takes forever. I was in Delaware, and it's a very small state. There's like 12 people there, so they can get to things fairly quickly. Holly McKnight, what's the worst neural tube defect on a baby you've ever worked with? Oh, we saw just very sad. I saw a lot. You saw a ton of spina bifida. You saw a ton of, I worked in peds, if you guys don't know. And so I wasn't the neuro floor. I worked on a heart floor, but there was a lot. But I couldn't have worked on the neuro floor because neuro stuff in general is just really, really hard. Should we post our questions from the comment section here, or will you get those? D, if you post it here again, then I'll see it again because there's a lot here, so I might not go to the comment section. So just post them here. What would you... I lost track of myself. Ariana Garcia said, online or in-person NP school program. What are your opinions towards this? So I went to a hybrid program, which meant I was on campus 1 to 2 times a month. We did have online lecture. We had online group discussion, but we also had like in-person. I would say you want to have a program where you are on campus. I mean, I would say at least 2 weeks, like at least 2 weeks if it's online. My preference would be kind of exactly what I did. I don't think I could have gone all brick and mortar just because I was working full time. So that would not have left like a ton of, I did, a lot of my lectures at like 2 a.m. and that's not normal for people to be at school then. However, it makes me nervous how many online programs don't ever, like, how do you do health assessment online? That just confuses me, without having someone there, like looking at you, repositioning your hands or being like, hey, like do this a little bit different or do this. So I know some online schools, you go for like an intensive week or at least a few days, and then they pop in with you a few other times across the thing. But I just I don't know, how do you learn to do a pelvic exam unless you're doing a pelvic exam on a person, or do stitches, or unless someone's there showing you and like helping you and being like, actually, I'd do this a little different, or INDs, or any of the other skills you need to learn and assessment skills. So if you're looking at an online program, just look at that. Make sure it's hard to get into, because there's some online programs that, like, if you have a pulse, they seem to be like, yeah, let's go. That might seem like fun, but that's not a good time. You want somewhere that's like rigorous and seems like challenging to get into. That way, like it's a quality program. And that has I want to say 2 weeks. I don't even know if those exist out there, but like has in-person time. I think doing classes online, honestly, who cares? Like half the time people don't go to class if it's in person. It's the thing that really is stressful about that is, do you have someone showing you physical assessment skills and laying eyes on your skills other than your preceptors? Because who knows what you cannot trust your preceptor to be your knowledge base. You know what I mean? Because I have had some preceptors in NP school where I was like, this is not correct. So there's my soapbox on that. Someone asked, I did it again. I blipped and it went away. So sorry if I don't get to all your questions because I struggle with technology. Mia said, love your videos. Oh, thanks, friend. My high school offers a CNA program, and should I consider it if I want to be a nurse? Yeah, sure. Can't hurt. A lot of schools, nursing schools, really, like in North Carolina, they require it, which is really interesting. If to get into nursing school, you have to be a CNA, and it can't hurt. It would certainly show like that you are motivated to get into the field, and it'll give you a good idea of like, do I actually want to do this? Kirsten said, yeah. Kirsten was agreeing that, yes, you have to want to be a psych NP because it's just, yeah, well, we already talked about that. Elizabeth Caseta said, I've been a medical assistant for almost 2 years. Would it be easier for me to adjust to as an RN? Yeah, I mean, you're already kind of immersed in it. I think usually MAs work outpatient. So if you were working outpatient, then it would be a fairly good transition. There is a pretty big difference between an outpatient MA and an inpatient nurse. So if you're going inpatient, that might be a little, but you already know like medical term, you know what I mean? Like you're already immersed in the culture. It'll be easier for you than someone coming from like, I was a waitress and a bartender. So like, that's not quite as, I mean, it had a lot of skills that transferred, but like, I did not know a lot about the healthcare aspect of it. Bliss to Love says, do I ever miss working bedside, and what made you decide to be an FNP? Having doubts because they're starting this month. I have a whole video on if I miss the bedside, but I'll recap here. I'll try to remember to link that one down below too. I do sometimes. I miss the immediacy of being able to go and fix things and see improvement either in that day, that one shift, or the 2 or 3 that I was working. It's like primary FNP is like a long game. So, like I've been there a year and a half and I'm just now starting to see some serious improvements in some people. And then you like also the same, like, or not improvements. I can't think of that word. You don't see things. Whereas a nurse, you could walk into the room and like identify a problem and be like, I'm going to fix this. And then you fix it and you feel great and you're like, awesome. And all your tasks, you can like check them off and then be done. You're never done as an FNP. Like there is constantly more you could do. And that has taken me a lot of time to adjust to. So I'll leave that video link down below. But in short answer, I do sometimes miss it, but I'm not sad that I chose the path that I did. People are oh good, you guys are talking and offering each other advice. Thanks, guys. Nikki said, hi, Happy New Year. Just wondering what tools you had when you were doing your FNP clinical placements that you found invaluable. I have a video on NP school tips, and it has that. Biggest thing I would do was like an EMRA antibiotic guide. That was really helpful. I had a little notebook that I brought with me, and I would write down notes in it that I was either learning or things that I wanted to go home and look up. And I also wrote down a lot of my patient notes. That way I could go home and do my care plans if I needed to. So that had like everything in it. And I highly recommend that. And then I would transfer that into another notebook, like things I was learning. And that was alphabetized, the second one. So that would be my biggest one, would be like a little notebook, an EMRA antibiotic guide, and then there you could even get like an HPI notebook. I have one linked. I discovered them after I graduated, but that would be a cool thing to keep all of your patient information like together so that you could go home and write your notes, or if you were going to catch up on Typhon or however you have to document your humans. Amber said, you can go to an NPU school totally online. As a patient, I'm horrified by this. Same friend, same. Yeah, there are a few of them that I don't think you ever have to step foot on a campus, and that makes me nervous. Let's see. Brittany Thomas said, I'm a nursing student. I want to start a YouTube. Could you share what app you're using when you're talking about your talking over your videos, please? What do you mean? Send help. I need clarification. Angela said, my NICU friend is setting me up to meet with her manager to tour the hospital. I'm applying to the NICU in the February. Hope to start graduation. How can I look impressive? Oh, yay. That'll be fun. Just, I think, go and be very friendly. Have a very open mind. Just seem very eager to learn. They don't expect you to know anything. If you have any NICU experience from nursing school, by all means, great. But, and you could talk about that a little bit or be like, hey, this is like, different than the NICU that I saw here or different than this. But mostly they just they're probably wanting to see like, are you sane? Do you seem fairly normal? And are you do you think they'll mesh well with the unit? And, they just kind of want to make sure you're normal and like that you'll learn things without being crazy. Lady T, how folks talk over the visual portion of their video. Oh, like how I do voiceovers? I usually, I have a snowball microphone that I use 50% of the time. Honestly, I don't really use it all the time because I have to get up and go over to my desk and get it out. And if I remember, I'll link it down below, but it's called a snowball microphone. If not, I just use the one that's connected to my earphone thing, like the Apple one that came with my phone or computer. I just use that one and it's not very good. And I probably should use the equipment that I have for it. So, let me see. Guys, I probably missed some questions, but I'm sorry. I'm a new grad. Conscious Patriot said, I'm a new grad RN in the emergency department for 4 weeks and I feel so dumb every day. Is this normal? I love it, but it's so much oh my gosh, yes, it's so normal. I felt so dumb for 6 months. And then at 6 months, I was like, I can do like one of the 10 things I know I need to do without like feeling confident. And then over time, it just like grew to more. But you're just learning so much. And I feel like they don't tell you in nursing school how unprepared and dumb you're going to feel when you graduate. And you're going to feel unprepared and dumb, but you just remind yourself that like you are learning a whole, like an insane skill set, like just an insane skill set. This is a huge transition. I think being a new nurse was, I don't know, maybe even harder than being a new NP. Yeah, I would say it probably was. So don't ever beat yourself up about it because it is such a huge transition and you're absolutely going to be fine and you're absolutely going to be able to do it. Just give yourself like time to just learn all of that. Alyssa said most required in Wisconsin. Also interesting. Like, is that the CRNA license thing? That is interesting. Samantha said, assuming they mean like when you're doing a video at work, but talking about what you're doing over the video rather than in the video. Okay, so yes. Also, when you're making the video, so I use that microphone, but in the editing software, you can go in whatever you're using. I use iMovie, and there's a little button. There's a microphone button, and then you hit play, and it's a big red circle. I hit that, and then I talk over it, and it saves it for me most of the time. So Happy New Year. I'm in the FNP program through South and graduate at the end of next year. Oh, good luck. That's exciting. Okay, Brittany, did that answer the questions for you? No, you're fine. Don't apologize. It's user error on my end. I usually have no idea what's happening. All right, I think we'll hang out until like 4, if that sounds good. And then I hear both of my children awake downstairs. So I'll go save Joe at that point. Someone in the group or on the comments thing had said, lots of people wanting to know if you are in high school, what to do. Just take science classes. I wouldn't worry about physics, but like AP Bio, if you can do anything in that realm, then that would be lovely. That's going to be the most helpful for you. Any like volunteer experience that you want to do that's going to get you into the health sciences, that's going to be like helpful. Brittany said, how do you get over the vomit-inducing nerves related to starting your first nursing job? Exercise. That was when I super got into like running and all of that was when I, not that I ever got good at it, but I ran a lot that first little bit. Also just going really slow, asking, even if you feel like you're annoying people, annoy them and ask the questions. It's fine. It's so much better to annoy people and ask questions and know going to bed at night, like you have a clear conscience than to worry like, oh, did I do this right? I probably, for any procedure or anything I did as a nurse, I probably brought a buddy with me for like the first 6 months. I was just like, come on, we're gonna go do this like very probably simple task, but like I need a friend, bring a friend, or just be like, hey, can I go over the steps with you? Anything like that. Do not be, as when I was like more of a senior nurse, I would so much rather have someone come to me and say like, hey, can you just show me this? Even if I was not in the mood to like show them something, I would rather do that than like obviously have anything bad happen to patients or have to then go and like fix anything. So just ask. It's honestly like if people are being obnoxious and acting annoyed, like that's their problem, not your problem. Sam has said, how did you like working with adults versus kids? I wanted to work at a children's hospital, but people say it's not what you expect. It totally depends on the age. And Lady T said you might want to get some moderators. We got some trolls in this vicinity. I don't know how to add moderators. There's trolls everywhere. Next time, can you be my moderator? Help me. Joe's watching the girls. He used to be my moderator when I did lives on YouTube forever ago, but now there are children. Anyway, there was a question. Oh, adults versus children. I loved working children much more than adults. Kids was definitely, it's not quite, it depends on what setting you're working in. And if you're in the PICU, obviously those kids are unconscious most of the time, at least at where I worked. If you were in the PICU, you were intubated. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to be playing with children. I could have never worked in the PICU because that is just so sad. I could have done like peds cardiothoracic ICU. That's interesting because it's like surgical, but again, yes, they're kids and they're babies, but they're usually like unconscious. I worked on a floor where everyone was, pretty much you had to be, you could be on like a CPAP or a BiPAP, but you were conscious. So then you could interact with them. Parents brought some interesting dynamics into the mix sometimes, but that's anywhere. There was interesting dynamics on Adult World. So I do think there was less violence in peds. So there was that going for it. And I just loved the kids because they were conscious. But if you were working with ICU kiddos, that might be a little bit of a different story. New nurses. So Google imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is serious. Lady T says, I know it's somewhere in YouTube. Yeah, I know it is too. I'm like talking about like getting moderators. Some people can, because there's interesting stuff going on. You can like kick people out. I don't know how to do that. My question is about, I saw yours, blessed life, about daycare. Anxiety for my son. I'm starting nursing school this spring and my son will go to daycare. How did you cope with that scary feeling? So we just did, Alyssa said like, ask around on Facebook, and that's exactly what I did. I went onto my local mom's Facebook group and I was like, I just didn't even ask the question. I just searched best daycare and it came up with like all these different reviews of all these different daycares. And we started really, really early. Avery was due in 6 months. So I was however many months pregnant that is. That way we knew we had lots of time and could get on waiting lists. And we found ones that parents had really high recommendations of. Things I looked for was, can I drop in at any time unexpectedly? Cameras are nice. Mine didn't have cameras, but I liked that I could come whenever. And that was important to me. So that obviously like, if they're like, no, you can't come whenever, that's a little weird. I wanted the center to be, and just kind of whatever is important to you. So for me, that was important. I wanted, them to have like a vaccination policy. I wanted there to be a certain ratio. And then you had to figure out what you could afford, because then there were the ones that were super amazing and you were like, what? So mine, and it's already expensive. So some of these were like $2,500 a week or a month. I was like, how do you, and they were like, we'll teach your child how to grow trees when they're like 6 months old. I was like, that's too far. So just look in the Facebook groups and see what people said, and then know that your little one, it's going to be so much harder on you than your little one. Avery really never, she went when she was little, like 9 weeks. So she didn't really have any idea what was happening. And then by the time, she got older, she loved it there. But no, it's harder on you than it is on them, but it's an investment in their future that you put them in daycare so that you can go do your thing, whether it's working or whether it's in school. That's what I kind of told myself was like, I am putting you in daycare so that you have the example of like me working, because I think that's important. And that I'm going to be a better mother when I'm kind of living the life that I want and I feel fulfilled, then I can be a better mother to you. So that was kind of what was going on in my head, if you need that. All right. Joe says Piper is hungry. So we're going to wrap things up. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Alyssa, I just said the same thing. Kirsten said, what kind of content do you hope to put out in 2020? I don't know. What kind of content do you guys want to see in 2020? I don't know. I'm having like a YouTube 2-year life crisis. So just let me know what you want to see. I don't know. I feel like I want to like branch out and do some other stuff other than nursing, but then I'm like, no one's going to watch it. I don't know. I'm feeling like I want to do, like, obviously still do nursing stuff and keep doing kind of what I've been doing, but add in other aspects, because I feel like I'm more than just an NP. And I'd like to talk about some of that other stuff, but I don't know if people would watch it. I might just do it anyway. Let me know. I'm kind of having, like I said, a 2-year crisis. It's fine. Alyssa and I are going to collab at some point, hopefully in real life. She doesn't know this yet, but I might be coming to her house in September. I'm inviting myself right now. Joe's family lives in Wisconsin, and we always go to a baseball game every year in like September-ish. So I'll probably be at your house in like September-ish. I'm bringing probably my children, so just prepare for that. It's going to be exciting. So that will be coming. She doesn't know it. Now she does. Yay. And we'll do one more question and then we're going to go, because Piper's hungry. Amarine said, do you recommend working in the ER as a nurse before starting NP school? Yes. ER seemed to be like the best place that people learned all the things and were so well prepared for FNP school. Like those people were not fazed by anything, nothing. They were all just like, they could handle anything and they seemed really familiar with like, especially a lot of the acute stuff, nothing phased up. So there we go. Okay, guys. That would be a collab I'm there for. Awesome. Yes, I'll let you know what day, Alyssa. Don't you worry. We usually find out in April when the baseball game is. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. Hope you have a lovely new year. Sorry this was delayed. Again, I am bad at technology. We're going to see if I can end it and if it saves. So that'll be an adventure. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Hope you have a delightful rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. I have a video on Saturday, so I'll see you on Saturday. Bye, guys. All right, let's see. End.